That. Okay, that's always a good start. That has to change that. So, let's do that and that. Are you working now? This looks good. So, once again, Windows updates gave me issues. I apologise for the delay in speaking. I was speaking, but apparently, once again, it changed my device. I wonder if I can script that. I wonder if there's a way to script ensure all things are set as required. Because of course it would be far better if it just left it the way it was. It's a glorious day outside, and it does seem rather tragic to be indoors. But it's Friday. It is lace making day. And here we are. I may have to make the lace making stream a bit later in the summer so that I can enjoy some of the afternoon. Because my garden doesn't really get sun in the evening due to lady next door who has an exceptionally tall tree. And when I mean tall tree, I mean really tall. And, well, it basically blocks out the sun for most of the afternoon. I mean, let's put it this way, even now when the sun is pretty high in the sky, there's not actually that much sun in my garden. I'm just quickly looking. There it is. So, as an example, let me do that. And if you bear with me one moment, I can demonstrate the problem. I love computers. Because I've got a picture on my phone. Stop saying trying to connect, actually do it, thank you. And I've got to wait for my phone to finish sending it. Hello. I'm just waiting for my computer to, catch up with life and send an email. Or to collect an email I'm sending from my phone. Come on. It's not that big. Goodness gracious. Anyhow, I think it was complicated. Go here. See if it got eaten somehow. Possibly did, because that'd be about right if it did. Well, to be honest, that is something I personally find very difficult. As I've said a few times on the stream, I really struggle with the whole cleaning thing, and I know I sent it to myself. One unsent message. What the fuck now? Outbox. Send it. Send. Go. Why aren't you sending it? I struggle with cleaning. It makes me really depressed. Moreover, I, living on my own and doing my own thing, I then struggle with that even more so, because, well, it might have gone. Wait for it to see if computer notices. Necessity is one of the few reasons that people like you and me then do get around to it, because, well, unless there's a good reason, it's still good. And it has seen it. Updating inbox with 13 whole meg. You'd think it was gigabytes the way it was doing it. So let me share with you the picture of the tree in my house. So, let me save that. You gonna let me save that? Save as picture, there we go. Save as pictures. Right, and then all this just to show you a picture of a frigging tree. Paint. Make it a bit smaller so you can see the picture. Right. So, now just check that you can actually see what I think you can. Yes, you can. So as you can see from that is a picture of the tree and the end of my garden. The end where the sun comes from. What you may also notice that to the left of said tree, poking from behind the house, is more vegetation. As a result, that almost, other than it's a bit sunnier today, that picture is about half an hour ago equivalent of the amount of sun in my garden, i.e. that thin strip there that you see is slowly edging its way as the sun moves across. And of course it is now on its way down, so it goes through the little gap between stuff on the left and the big tree in the middle. By the time it comes out of the other side of the big tree, it's behind the smaller trees that look more like bushes, but they're actually trees, on the right. So pretty much in about an hour's time, there is no more sun in my garden. And there are some rules and regulations that say if the tree is over so big, I can demand of her to reduce it. And to be honest, I am kind of surprised they could build the house where they have, because that tree is clearly not a new tree. Because there are also limitations of how close you're supposed to build to large trees. It's kind of interesting because my neighbour, who does not have particularly any trees near her, and in fact, she does the only trees and stuff that she's got come from her own garden, and none of them are that big. She's got subsidence because the tree roots have, munged all the soil underneath. But that is my grass has been cut since then. But that is the end of my garden. And, well, as you can tell, it's kind of like twice as high as my house. It is not a small tree. So, to be honest, if it was half the height it is now, it's still a decent sized tree. But, there's also a load of buddleia that grows over there. The ivy on the fence has gone a bit nuts, so that's kind of gone up a bit as well. And that was obviously taken earlier this year, and so it was kind of springtime. Well, of course, all of the vegetation on the right, now my garden, although you can see a bit of fence on the bottom right bit, it looks like it continues to across from the bottom. No, that's it coming upside. My garden's not very long. It's kind of wide. I mean, I'm only standing at this point by the kitchen, right? And then behind me there's a utility room and a double garage. So there's a fair bit of garden behind me. So my garden's wide, not long. So it is really quite a cramp. Now, I kind of like it because you get lots of interesting birds, and so I'm quite happy to have trees. And of course, they do give a bit of privacy and quiet, and you know, they help with all of those kind of aspects. But at the same time, what you can't see is that roughly what would be the very right hand side of that photo, we get elder plants. Now, lots of people go, oh, that's really nice. It is a colossal weed. In fact, it's a notifiable weed. So I should have been told that it was here when I moved in. But they didn't. And I mean, I wouldn't have not bought it. So, you know, they did themselves a disservice. But I must admit, I never realised how tall it can get. Because right here, right now, you see those little leaves right at the top on the right? It's taller than that. So it's getting up, you know, in a similar kind of... it's not as tall as the big tree, but it's getting up there. And, well, it does grow a lot and really fast. So, but it's not technically in my garden. Sometimes it is, but not for very long. But yeah, it's enjoying the sunshine is a thing. So I may have to adjust the timing of this stream just so that I can go and sit in the warm in my garden and actually enjoy my garden for a bit, while the sun is out and you know it's still kind of warm out there. I do have Chernobyl grass though. My Chernobyl grass, when everyone else's has stopped growing, mine's still at it. Mine grows. And oddly enough, when everyone else's has gone brown due to lack of water, mine's still green. So there is a lake the other side of that fence, by the way. You can't really tell, but there is... I say lake, I don't know the true definition of it, but when, as I said once or twice before, if you need a boat to get across it, or to the, it's got a little island in the middle. So if you think of, sorry, I just want to check you can see what I'm pointing at. So if you think of like this, if this, this outer mesh was the grass, there's like a pond and it's not the size of the cross, but there is a small kind of island in the middle. If you need a dinghy, not chuck a bag of stuff in it and stepping stone, you need a dinghy. And when I mean a dinghy, I'm talking you could fit 4 adults in its size dinghy to get to the middle. It's a friggin' lake by my standards. So anything that you can fit a human boat on, and admittedly you don't get very far with it. I'm not going to pretend that it's a 5-minute journey, but the fact that you can't put can't put a board down and step to the middle, it's not really a pond anymore, is it? I mean, what is the definition between what is the definition of a pond, and when does a pond become a lake? Let's ask Google. Hang on. When does a pond become a lake? There is no specific size or depth to which it becomes a lake, but generally lakes are wider and deeper than ponds, where sunlight cannot reach the bottom. Ponds are... okay, well, I'm going to guess that my definition of when you need a boat kind of falls into that category then. It's a good approximation. Right, so when we left off yesterday, I hadn't done very much yesterday, and, I was kind of sorry about it, but I was also really tired. So, let's take off the yawns for now, because right now, we're alright. It's kind of close, though. I can feel it brewing gently. You are the end of that, so we will need you in a minute. But we need some of you. So we need let's have a look. We need some of you and some of you. There we go. So yes, how you doing, Flusenby? I mean, obviously I don't expect you to stop tidying up, although I know you'd be grateful for the opportunity. I very much do understand. I did I made Nauticount nag me, and Julie, he did. He's a very good boy. And I put out my cardboard and I sent proof, because, you know, that's the fairest thing to do. And Nauticount will vouch that I did the cardboard in part of my room. So this room is a reasonable size room. Do not get me wrong, right? That's not what I wanted to do. They were the wrong pair. I'm thinking of the rose ground, and that's not what we're making. So, but I sent him a before, the cardboard pile after I'd tidied, and then the sans cardboard pile after I put it out on Wednesday. So I too did some tidying this week, and I needed to sit down in the middle because my back went into spasm, which is something it likes to do, which also never helps with the whole tidying up process. I mean, it sounds like a really good excuse, and it is, but it is also true. And, you know, I could probably do a lot of things to help cheer it up and strengthen it and mean that it would do less of it, but then I'd have to do all the tidying, wouldn't I? But no, I do suffer from, I went to see a specialist because I was getting a lot of backache, and I went quite a few times, and they did lots of kind of stuff, and they declared that I do have a degenerative bone issue in my back, which kind of, you know, questions what will my future look like. But until it happens, it doesn't happen. So we're kind of ignoring that because, well, you know, deal with it when it happens. And, you know, knowing that it is a degenerative thing, though, also you have in the back of your mind, well, if I go about doing lots of stuff now, I'll bring on the worn out factor even quicker. Now, obviously, there are differences to that in that if you have a wasting muscle, for example, sitting around and, quote, treasuring the muscle you have doesn't work. But when it's your bones, it's kind of the other way around. Because if your bones are deteriorating rapidly, then if you do lots of strenuous thing grinding them together, well, all you're going to do is wear them out even quicker. So, I do have a bit of a worry that by the time I get to retire, I won't be in any fit state to do all the things that I want to do. Murphy's Law applies and all that, so... now, is this right? I think it is, actually. That's right, my brain suddenly went, this is the wrong number of bobbins, but it's not, so that's alright then. Right, you get back in there. Because my brain was going, well, you can't have any more, because, well, we're the worker pair, and, well, they don't get involved in this. Is your bruv sat and drying the warms? I assume he is. Amy has come and sat next to me. Rory has discovered his woof this week, which is kind of weird for me. Kind of weird for Rory, to be honest. Rory has almost been a functional mute all of his life. He really doesn't make noises. It's exceptionally uncommon. And this week he's whined, growled, barked, more than once of each. And it's really weird. It's really weird that not only has he barked, he's started it. So it is kind of weird for me that my little man is barking at the world and whining and woofing and howling and doing all the things that dogs do, because, well, it's not like him. But little man is currently out turning into a roast dog, which he does do very well for the black fur. Technically, he's not actually black. He has very dark brown fur, and in the right lights you can see it. But he does love a good wallow in the sunshine. And he comes in, and he can be so hot that he is uncomfortable to put your hand on, and he loves it. I'm not sure it's good for him. But he's not forced to be out there. He is very welcome to be indoors. In fact, I put dog cooling mats down and all sorts of things in. It's not hot today. I mean, it's hot if you probably sat in the sun for half an hour, and you're black. But, it's the, inside, it's, I'm going to guess it's 20, 21 degrees kind of thing. Maybe. What does weather say? Oh. The weather thing says 20, yeah. So, I can kind of go along with that. That seems a potentially good plan, and a reasonable guess, so that ties up. But yeah, so he's outside. I mean, if it was much warmer, I would be not impressed with him sitting out in the sun, cooking quite so hard. But can't blame him for enjoying it, really can't. So he's been out. He's been out most of the morning, actually. He does come in to cool down, so he knows he can. But he does enjoy cooking gently out there. And I don't begrudge him it. I sorted out my water bill, people, this morning. So I got a note late yesterday night saying, hey, we've refunded you some money. Great. But that's not even as much as my last payment. And I've paid you a few really high payments. And I'm still not sure it's right, I'm really, really not sure that it's correct, but because I'm sure I made at least 3 payments of over £200, and at no point should it be much more than about 60 quid. So, seems a little odd that I've paid probably almost £200 extra for at least 3 times in a row, and well, they sent me back 220 quid. And I kind of, and so I found them up this morning, and the girl couldn't understand why I was confused. Because, of course, her system shows, well, you were in credit before you paid this month, and we've refunded all of the extra. But I wasn't in credit this month. A week and a bit ago, I had 0 credit, and you'd had, 600 plus of my money. And well, it shows I've used bugger all water since then. So can we not be pretending that I owe you a lot of money? Well, apparently they worked out that between A and B, so the last time they got a meter reading and now when they've got a meter reading, I have spent, I think it's £44 on water. And then, of course, they've got to spend another £44 taking it away, which I really don't kind of understand, because surely that's pretty much given. And they've decided that basically since, I think it's August 2023, my bill has been £168, so they took it out of the money of the previous payment. No, sorry, they took it out of this payment, so the 275 quid that they charged me for this time, and that left 300 and some money that they had left over slightly from before. So somehow, and this is the other bit, so according to them, my last bill was 275 quid, which is the amount I was expected to pay, and then they refunded all my previous payments, and then they took the money that I owed, which was not the 275 quid. So they refunded me the difference between the 275 quid and the money left over, even though it's one of those ones, you know, the kind of thing of like, I've got £20, you've got £20. You buy £9 worth of stuff off me. I give you £1. You give me, you know, like, I don't know, £11 and ask for a 20 back. You've now got more money than you started with, and I've, you know, but so where did the extra pound come from? And the answer is because, while, you know, it's no one gained, or everyone pays, you know, each person pays £1, and you divide the change up, and you've now all got like £1 short, but at the same time, now you're not, one of those kind of questions, because of course, I didn't owe them 275 quid at the beginning, therefore their starting point is technically not right. They then refunded it, but took off a bill that they haven't actually really specified, and you know, refunded me the difference. And I do have the explanation. So, for example, if I come out of that. So, it says your bill breakdown. Between 19th of July 2023 and, well, now, basically, because, well, it's not now, they've written January 2024, but they've then said it was 651 days. Well, that's clearly not 6 months. I've managed to use 1 unit of water. From an estimated reading, in April 2025, which obviously was fairly accurate. So they've decided that I owe them £63.88 for water and £44.86 to take it away, and land drainage fees for £29.98 for a grand sample amount of £138.72, claiming my water usage was 9 metres squared. So, how my bill got broken down. It says, balance at last bill, you owe us £275.75. They then credited me with a lot of credits and claimed that I had a credit of £360.71. So if you think about it, I was in debt by 275, which of course I wasn't. But, okay, so minus 275. They then added on enough to make it £360. Right. But of course, it wasn't 275 because you've cancelled it all. So I'm not convinced by this, because my balance wasn't 275, it was technically zero. And so that then leaves, you know, payment for 138 out of that, and a small bit from, the billing period then says, it's a picture of a picture kind of thing. And so there was a bit more, which gives me my £221.99 that they refunded. But of course, and then she said, well, you've now got £275.70, 75p in your account in credit. Well, why? Surely you just emptied it. And he went, well, because you paid us afterwards. No, you took the money after you effectively zeroed it. So there is another 275 quid on the way. So I'm feeling a little bit better about my water, but I'm still not absolutely convinced by it all. It is the heads I win, tails you lose scenario. And because I said to her, to be honest, if you're telling me that since July 2023, I've only used 168 quid. No, I don't want to leave £275 in there. Thanks very much. Because, well, you're getting interest on that, and that's going to take, 2.5, 3 years to get used up. So I'll have it back, thanks. And she said, well, what do you mean? And I went, you do know that business accounts get paid interest daily, right? And, if you've got 275 quid of my money, well, you're getting interest on that. But you don't credit my account with the interest of the 275 quid. No, it will just say, even if I left it in there 20 years, 275 quid. And of course, and she said, well, I never thought of that. And I said, of course you wouldn't. You and I are normal people. Because I said, the other thing is, of course, is when you want my money, you say pay up and take it immediately. When you want to give it back, oh, it will take up to 12 days. And I said, well, why do you think that is? And she went, I don't know. And I went, well, because they're not in a rush to pay you back. Because for every day they keep it, they're getting, may only be pennies, but they're getting money of interest. So it's not in their interest to be rushed about it. And she went, I never thought about it. And I went, yeah, but the problem is if everyone say 50 quid, in credit with, whichever utility you want to pick on, they've got 50 quid of your money and you don't feel too bad because, well, perhaps the next bill, you're going to pay 60 quid and you'll now be £45 over. But you will have dug into your 50 quid, so it'll pay it off eventually. You're not really that worried. But all that time, they're making money off your money. But if you multiply, if you've got like 100,000 customers, each with 50 quid in, well, suddenly there's 5 million in that bank account. And she went, that's terrible. And I went, I know. This is why I want my money back. Because I'm not having you have 275 quid of my money and getting rich off it while I'm not. She went, I totally understand. It's your money, you can have it back. I mean, she was very good about how it was, it is my money, I can have it back if I want. She was not doing the company line says, well, we need to keep a buffer in there, or, well, you could just leave it, it'll get used up in paying for your bills and all the other bullshit that companies usually like to spout at these times. So, to fairness to her, she was being reasonable about it, and, why are these bobbins always so caught up? And how then the blazes have you done all of this? So yeah, so hopefully that'll get sorted. Pleased I sorted that this morning. Work was painful yesterday. Work was just so painful yesterday. And there's knock-on effects with other stuff today. So stuff's still moaning and moaning. I think it's worked out as nearly 71,000 emails from the monitoring system, because although I can hear you going, wow, it's a terrible monitoring system. Well, the problem is the monitoring system has to monitor for urgent notifications in event logs and sys logs of various servers. And of course, if they're spamming the shit out of it themselves, saying, panic, 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 well, I don't want to miss any, so I can't. And while I've told it not to send duplicates, well, of course, they're not duplicates because they're at slightly different times. So they've all got a different number. So they're not duplicates. And so it sends them. And it took till kind of nearly home time today for it to get to a point where it kind of went, yeah, you've had all your mails now. I'm chill now. It crashed my Outlook so many times yesterday, which of course then munged my mail, my Outlook PST and OST files. And we've got a guy on our help desk who slightly obsessed with webmail. Oh, well, it's a far superior product. No, it's not. If I go in to emails and manually select a few, then yes, I get the option to move it and do various things with it. If I say select all, first of all, it only selects one page. Even though I can see mails further down the screen, it will only select 17. But then all I can do is delete them or mark them as read or unread. I can't move them. I can't tag them. I can't... Well, I can with Outlook. And of course, being a former employer of the client, I know that you need to keep a lot of things. And the mailbox limits are... They're not bad, but, when you've been there 20 years, not big enough, So you have a PSD file. So I put stuff, and in fact I pretty much divert all things straight to a PSD file. Well, so I can't do that with webmail. I can't archive it out of my mailbox via webmail. So it's of no use to me. And every given opportunity bangs on about it. It's irritating. And it didn't help, because I did actually look at it thinking it didn't help at all. Didn't help whatsoever. No. Morning. How you doing? How's it over your side of the pond? This is a good answer. It is Friday, and Friday is a day where we do find just that little bit more enthusiasm to hang on in before the 2 days that we call our own. And then, of course, you blink, fart, and wake up, and it's Monday morning. So, well, this is it. You get 2 days that you get to call your own, spend it with people of your choosing. I'm not going to say you don't have to talk to idiots, because, well, that's still can be a thing. But, it is, the change is as good as a holiday kind of deal. We all look forward to a weekend usually. There are times that we don't, but for the most part, most people look forward to the weekend. Not having to get up as early, or not having to wear a suit, or not having to commute into the office. It might be a very small joy. It might be, barely registering on the scale of joy to a lot of people. But at the same time, if that's the thing that brings you joy, because, well, that's the most cheeriest thing you can think of, that's still good. It's a bit like, as I said, yesterday I did some lace making. Well, they are, but also, it's like yesterday. All I actually managed to do in the hour odd that I was streaming was this cloth stitch bit and this cloth stitch bit, which frankly looked next to nothing and almost a waste of effort. But it's still 2 cloth stitch bits I don't have to do today, and 2 bits nearer towards the end of my triangle, and 2 bits towards the completion of my half curtain, and so, just because yesterday I just wasn't in the mood, well, but I still did something. I still made progress. It all still counts. The only time that doesn't count is when you look at it today and realise you've got to unpick it all. Then maybe, fair cop, it was, wasted effort, but... Well, and in some ways, I think if you don't come every day, because timings, whatever, it does mean the next time you come, it's far more visible. Because obviously, if you spend my whole stream today with me, and then my whole stream with me tomorrow, and while you watch it grow, you're there watching it grow. And you're probably listening more to the conversation per se than directly watching it grow, because, well, we've all seen Liz flicking bobbins around before. So, as you say, you come back after a couple of days and go, hey, that's grown. Wow. It's a bit like living with a child, puppy, kitten, whatever. When you live with it, you know it's growing. And quite rapidly. But you don't really see it because you're there every day. Now, occasionally, you will suddenly realise that you used to be able to walk under that. You used to fit in that. But you don't see them grow. You don't feel the growth. Just like as we grew up, we didn't wake up one day and go, wow, I grew 6 inches overnight. Because you didn't. I do vaguely remember, and again, Liz, the awkwardly weird, would like to put, bit of a weird hat on for this one, because even I think this one's a bit weird. That's right, some of my bobbins have fallen out this thing and it was bothering me. I woke up. Now, in my dad's house, there were 2 bedrooms that I could have been located in, but I happened to be in the front one. And you come out of the bedroom, turn right, barely walk like a metre, and you're on the stairs to go downstairs. And I remember, because it was a kind of a 360 degree circle, so it went across, down, right? But it was squared off. I remember going down the 2 or 3 steps to the first half landing, because there was 2 half landings. You went down to a half landing, down to a half landing, and then it kind of curved all the way around. Anyway, down to the first half landing where the window was, and I felt taller. The floor was further away. And I distinctly have always remembered that weird feeling of, that floor looks further away than it was yesterday. Now, was it again because I hadn't really been staring at the floor, and it was on that day that I stared at the floor and, realised that, the pattern was not as close as it was. But it was a very profound feeling of, I've grown. I was very aware that I had grown. Now, was it because I hadn't looked in a month and maybe I was on a bit of a growth spurt, so maybe I'd gained an inch or something? Maybe. But I still realised I had grown. But then, I can honestly say that I've grown in other ways, wider generally, but, I've grown since. And yet, I still find myself not feeling like I grew. What are you doing? There you go, you're with you, right? You're not necessarily aware. Again, you might realise I used to fit in those jeans, whatever, or those jeans were big on me and now they're not, or those used to be tight on me, maybe, now they're not. So it's not that you aren't aware of change, but even then, if you've got a pair of trousers and you put them on, and a Saturday later, they've been in the wash and you're going to put the jeans on again and now they're not so tight, well, your first reaction is they stretched in the wash or they shrunk in the wash, whichever way around it's working. And, is not, I have changed size, because you are not aware that you have changed size. And so, yeah, it was kind of weird that I had this very profound realisation that I had changed in height. But yeah, watching little puppies grow and all the rest of it, you don't necessarily realise how much until you look back on a picture or someone else comes along and goes, my, haven't they grown? And you're going, you were only here a week ago. They can't have grown that much. And they go, oh, they could. Well, last week, and you kind of go, okay, I hadn't realised that they grew that much. I mean, when I haven't forgotten the day they arrived, and as I carried Amy in from the van, Amy's head was not up to my shoulder and her bottom was at my waist. If I hold her now, her butt is in my lap and her head is kind of level with mine. But at no point was I overly aware of them growing, other than they are not as small as they were. And this is hence I say to them, you're not littles anymore. Because, well, they're not little anymore. I just don't know when they stopped being little. Because, well, my little pups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yes, I do love my little puppies. But at the same time, they're not littles anymore. They are distinctly not so little anymore. They're big puppies now. Especially with their bony paws. And they take up a lot more of the bed. Take up far too much of the bed. Obscene amount of the bed. Wrong one. Is it the wrong one? Have I done it again? I have. Fuck off. Let's do it with you. Oops, yes. So how's Sugar Bear? What have you been up to? Have you done anything good and interesting this week? Fleece and V's on a tidy session. Yeah. Someone in a group that Fleece and V and I are in had spinal surgery the other day, and it doesn't sound like fun, that's for sure. I guess the question is, did the injection help? For at least if it helped, it was worth it. Reminds me of when I had my bowel surgery. I mean, sure, I would say the first week after surgery, I was a little cautious because, well, I had 8 billion staples up my front. Well, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. But yeah, I was told, oh, you can't lift anything heavier than like bugger all, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and it's like, I am not sitting watching TV, and they wanted me off for, was it 12 weeks? It was something ridiculous. I think it was at least 10 or 11. I think they signed me off for 11 weeks. And I did say to the doc who was signing me off, and I went, because it was, you know, kind of, it wasn't COVID time, but it wasn't long after COVID time, obviously. And it was kind of 11 weeks. And she went, oh yes, at least 11. And I went, okay. I said, why can't I work? Oh no, you can't do that. I said, do you know what I do, right? And she looked at me and went, well, yes. And I went, so I'm going to sit on a chair working on a computer. You know what I'm going to do when I'm not at work? Sit on the same chair working on a computer, just a different one. going to sit in front of a computer. I'm going to sit on the same chair doing the same hit, basically. We're just not being paid for it. And maybe not getting up so early, but basically just not being paid for it. Oh, well, we've got to sign you off that time. I mean, but I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything strenuous. I wiggle my fingers. You didn't operate on my fingers. And that 11 weeks was a long time. I kind of enjoyed it, but it was a long time. Because, yeah, I mean, the first couple of days when I got home, I did feel quite delicate. But that was more because I was worried the dogs would rip my staples. Not that I felt delicate overall, just that I was more concerned that the dogs would damage the staples and I'd spring open or something exciting. But once I had the staples out, which wasn't that much later, well, if I'm good enough to have my staples out and sit around my house unsupervised, it did seem a little bit odd that mandatory, sit at home time for when I'm going to be doing the same thing anyway. Well, well, again, I live alone, so there is no one to go, you shouldn't be doing that. There's no one to judge, right? So I'm weaving, I'm putting warp on my loom, but I'm not allowed to bend or carry anything heavy. Well, you see, to quote the immortal words of Spock, I am Vulcan. I embrace technicality. For you said I may not lift. You didn't say anything about push. I did not lift. I did not bend. I crouched. When I put my large water bottles on the end of my warp, I did not lift them. For it's it clearly didn't do me any bloody harm, so more to the point. So sorry, honey. But the problem is again, you live on your own. There are certain things you cannot not do. Sure. Fair enough. But you know what I mean, right? Is that, when you live on your own, you have to stand and do the cooking. You have to, I don't know, walk the dog. You have to feed the dog. You have to, you have to do, at least, you have to pick the post off the floor to pick it up when the postman shoves it through the door. There are certain things you can't not do. And so, with all the best one in the world, you will try and do it as little as possible. You will happily take carte blanche to not do any housework for a while, because, well, heck yeah. But, maybe you'll move a stool into the kitchen and... Well, and as long as you do it slowly, as long as you are careful, as long as you are mindful of what you're doing. Yeah, and if you kind of go, out, no, that's not a plan, and you stop, that's fine. I was perfectly fine. It was basically, I had best part of 3 months off for no frigging reason. It was great. I mean, I won't say I've got previous for that, but I do kind of have previous for that. So, when I was a kid, I got foot and mouth. It's called hands, foot and mouth in human, but I got foot and mouth. And I started an epidemic. No one knows where I got it from, because the only known epidemic at the time was in Scotland. And here I am. I'm going to be 53 this year. Still never been to Scotland. So, And no one I knew had been in Scotland, so we don't know where I got it from. But I started an epidemic at school. So you had the week off because you're contagious, highly contagious. Hands, foot and mouth, in case you were not aware, basically is not that bad. You get blisters on your hands and feet, ulcers in your mouth. What they don't tell you, though, is the blisters on your butt. Because, of course, it's not hands, foot, mouth and bottom. It's hands, foot and mouth. Well, and bottom, as it turns out. However, it's not one of those illnesses where you lay in bed groaning because you think you're going to chuck your guts up all day. No. You're not even itchy. You feel fine. You're just highly contagious. So I went on long walks, miles away from people, and had a great week. I wholly condone that if you need some time off, that's a good one, if you have a choice of your options, that's one to look out for, It's, it's like if you can pick what's wrong with you, pick that one, It is kind of weird, But at the same time, we've all known that you can feel like death on a stick and the doctor won't sign you off. And there I was, more than happy. I'm not saying you want it, but if gun to your head kind of thing, you've got to have an illness, what are you going to have this week? That's definitely one to go for, As I say, totally agree. There are, it's not that anyone wants to be ill in any shape or form, but if you're going to have one, at least have an easy one. Another good one is actually, as long as you're not expecting to have children later, is German measles. Had that one. I didn't even know I had it. I had a whooping cough apparently at one point. Didn't know I had that one either. I had like a hoop and that was it. They think I had mumps, but they're not sure. I have all the antibodies for chickenpox, but never actually had it. So I must have had it. I just never had any symptoms. But don't get me wrong, my mother did try. She did the very typical 70s, 80s thing of, we understand that little Mary has really bad chickenpox. Go and hug her. Ooh. That sounds like scarlet fever in another manner. What do you know what the symptoms were for that one? As an approximation, I mean, obviously don't out his entire medical history, But, if you can hear little bangs, Rory came in and is sleeping on his bed. And his tail's wagging in his sleep. And he's being all cute. I don't know how, I can't say I've heard of Indian fever, but that again could be in part because we call it something else. Fair enough, according to this, because I've googled it, Indian fever illnesses, apparently there is not just the one, can refer to several mosquito-borne and other infectious diseases. So basically it's a bit like saying you had a rash. It is the We don't know what it was. We don't really care. You had a rash. It's gone away now. Hallelujah. You know. So Indian fever is not a specific thing. It's not a one-off known ailment. It is a potential slew of them that all get groups. That's fair enough. I mean, I don't know about you, but here in Britain, we used to have this pink medicine shit. That pretty much, no matter what was wrong with you, you got spoonfuls of the pink shit. I mean, don't get me wrong, it seemed to cure all, to be honest. You know, pretty much you could be feeling like you're about to die, and, you know, Mum would give you a couple of spoonfuls, you know, the previous day of this pink shit every so often, and then you wake up the next day and you feel all right now. Yeah. We don't have the pink shit quite the same as we used to. We do have, I think it is actually pink, but it's not the same pink shit. It's different pink shit now, and it's not as effective as it was. We also, I haven't got the tube in here. I moved it. When we were children, Germaline was the weirdest substance known to man. It would come in a pot, a bit like this, right? It was a small pot, usually a lot flatter, so only maybe about the height of the lid, right? So, you know, it really was quite a shallow pot. And it was older than Job, right? This pot of Germaline was always, like, older than your grandma, right? Moreover, it always seemed to have sand in it, or grit, or something in it. It didn't come pre-gritted, I need to point that out. It was bubblegum-ish pink. Now, the reason I say ish is because it kind of had a yellowy undertone to it. But it kind of tried to be bubblegum pink and failed. It stank. Holy goodness, did that thing stink. And so if you if you'd hurt yourself and your mum rubbed some on you in the car, and you're all travelling for another hour or so in the heat with this thing, you all came out stinking of it and feeling really quite horrible. But again, this was the kind of, it was almost like miracle cream. I know, you've nearly chopped your entire leg off in some hideous accident. Oh well, here's a bit of Germaline, it'll be alright tomorrow. No shit, it always was. It really was. And until, I'm going to say 20-something years ago, so probably 25, just over years ago, round about then, you could still get this shit. And it was a slimy, oily, weirdy kind of stuff. You really didn't need much of it at all. I mean, it really was. It was almost a putty, but not quite. It was really thick, and it's a bit like a lip seal in that it melts when you put your heat on it. It was that kind of, it was a solid, and then you'd rub your finger in it a bit, get some on your finger and smear it on whatever bit of you ailed, right? And it was slightly an anaesthetic, so it numbed it, so it didn't sting. It had stuff in it, probably illegal drugs or something, because that was a thing, early enough, but it had stuff in it that clearly cured a lot of ailments. And obviously it was a germ killer or something. But it was just one of those substances that it really did seem like, oh, you've decapitated yourself. Of course it didn't have fucking ingredients on it. How stupid did you think we were? We didn't have ingredient lists back then. But it is also one of those things is that there were a few medications of the time that kind of almost had the same deal, which was, now, I remember some medication, and I don't know if it's known the world over as the same stuff, but it was called Dimetap, right? It's spelled exactly as I've said it. Spelled Dimetap, right? And this shit was miracle. You could have the worst cold flu you've ever seen in your entire life. Your nose is falling off your face. Niagara Falls is gushing out of every orifice. You took one Zimmer tap. You almost instantly fell into like a coma. Yeah. Fell into almost a coma. And then when you woke up, it had gone. You can still get them today. Yeah, you could probably eat the whole box now and you don't even need a nap. And of course, your cold doesn't go away. So they are very much a shadow of their former selves. Wow. I mean, it clearly had actual shit in it. That's probably more to the point, is the fact that it actually had stuff in it, which is why it affected you so badly. Because, of course, these days, so many things are the watered-down, weakened version of their former selves that, as I say, you could probably eat the whole box and you probably wouldn't even notice. And as a result, you also don't get the results that you used to get. As in, it doesn't cure it anymore. I was not a sickly child. I definitely was not. I was, however, not normally prone to hay fever. I never really have. But at the same time, I've also had some really serious hay fever moments. And one, I'd gone down to work on the farm, and I've been there for a couple of weeks, and my face literally was melting off. That my nose ran so much. This is terribly gross, but I was also a child, so 50-50, right? I was not as much of a child as I could have been, but I was not particularly old. I was probably a very early teenager, maybe 12, 13 kind of time. Maybe even slightly earlier. My nose ran so much, all I ended up doing was wrapping a hanky around my glasses, tying knots in it, so making a sling from arm to arm, so that it went under here, so that I could put it under my nose to catch the drips, because literally it was just dripping straight out my nose. I also managed to have one of the worst asthma attacks I ever had. But it got to the point, there was no point blowing it, because pretty much by the time you breathed in after blowing it, it was dripping out again. I think it's part of the reason I'm quite practical about what I look like, in that, do I have clothes on? Yes. Do they have sufficient holes or insufficient holes that bits me that shouldn't be on show aren't on show? If nothing is on show, it's good. It's the... I do not take particularly pride in my appearance, shall we call it. It's not that I think I should look terrible. It's not that I arguably don't really care. It's just effort I could be spending on something else. So, to be honest, walking around with a hanky wrapped around my face, whatever. It was better than the constant trying to wipe it and having it running down my face and being, it was horrible. Later, and I had a boyfriend by this time, so clearly I'm old enough to have one. I had something similar, but this manifested slightly different. This was not so much of a nose issue. This became a lung issue, in that I couldn't breathe. And we were there for a week, and about day 2, I'd got to the point where I almost had to hyperventilate for 20 minutes before I could stand up. Which is pretty bad, really, but, I'm still good. We were going fishing, involving not a lot of walking. I mean, there was quite a bit of walking to get there, but once you were there, that's it. You were going to be there for like 6-7 hours, so, right? But I got to the point where, in needing to pick up my fishing rod, I needed to hyperventilate, and I decided at this point that perhaps now was a good time to call it that it's been a few days and the end is not in sight, and if anything, it's still getting worse. Perhaps I should see a doctor. Because, of course, I'd not taken my asthma medication with me, because, well, primarily for most of my life, I don't normally need it. I mean, I do have some here. I know where it is. I haven't used it. That's not the point. So, I had to walk the half-mile back to the car. Drove to where we were staying with boyfriend's parents. Phoned up their doctor, who turned around and went, "No, I'm not going to see you now." I didn't know at the time. They're not legally allowed to do that. But they did. So I went, "Oh, that's a bit shit. Fine. I'll go to the nearest hospital because it's down the road." Literally, was down the road. About 3/4 of a mile walk down the road. So off I set, toddle, toddle, toddle. It was more kind of walking the coffin speed, but, you know, it's fine. You know, slowly walked, stopping on a few brick walls along the way, you know. Got to the hospital, and they kind of went, "And what can we do for you?" You know, kind of quick visual surveillance clearly shows that I am not bleeding everywhere, so what the hell can be wrong with you? And it was like, "Hi, I'm an asthmatic and I'm having problems breathing." And it took me about 10 minutes to say it. And, "Okay, can we take your name?" I gave them my name, my date of birth, and all the other shenanigans. "Right, thank you, madam. Go take a seat." My arse did not touch that seat. "Can you come this way, madam?" "Yes." "How did you get here?" And I had a big mask on my face by this point, and I did that kind of... And the girl who was taking the notes fell over and she went, "You walked?" And I went, and I nodded. And she's like, "But you walked?" And I went, "Yeah." Because they'd done some tests, done some listenings. At this point, they thought I had a collapsed lung. And I'm like, "Yeah, and?" I wasn't going to fly here, was I? Kind of moment. It was one of those sarcastic things in your head when you go, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to fly. Teleport. I had to walk here. How else was I getting here?" So then I had to go to X-ray because they were convinced I had a collapsed lung. "We'll call a porter," and I'm like, "I'll walk." "You can't walk." "Yeah, I can." I do confess I couldn't walk back. Because I was getting quite drastically worse at this point. Because my peak flow meter barely registered. I was not really taking oxygen or any volume of air in. Despite having been on a mask and everything for a while, I still was not looking good. I was a good shade of blue. I call it when I smurf, because I do go blue. Do you remember back in the day when you used to buy a pair of blue jeans, and if you didn't wash them about 20 times first, you'd wear them, and then when you took them off, you'd gone blue, because all the dye was now in your legs? Well, my whole body does this, due to lack of oxygen. And it is quite amusing, because when you are aware you're blue, you know it's bad, right? And when you look at your hands and your legs, and they are... Well, exactly, it hadn't... I mean, actually, I would like to say it hasn't happened to me for a lot of years, but it's... I would say about 11 years ago was my last smurfing incident. But, I smurfed, and so I was down I was at the hospital. But, as I said, kind of like, I didn't fancy the walk back, so I did agree they could get me a porter to push me back, because, well, first of all, I hadn't quite realised how far X-Way was, and it was a little bit further than, after all, I'd already walked, quite a way to get there, and didn't really have any oxygen, so it was quite a trek for... as I'm sure you're aware when you're asthmatic, these things suddenly seem a lot further than they really are. And so, yes, I confess, yeah, you can call a porter to come and get me. I'm not really up for the journey back, that's a bit far. So someone came along, and they were very nice and everything. And they pumped me full of stuff, and gave me the lecture on how, irresponsible I was to come on holiday, up there without my inhalers. And it's kind of like, dude, I haven't used them in years, Well, you're supposed to be using them every day. Yeah, but I don't need them. It's only because I'm allergic to something up here that I need it, Whatever. And I swear, for the next 2 days, I only had to kind of go... And that was it. I didn't need to breathe the rest of the hour. I had so much oxygen. It was frightening. I've never had so much oxygen going around my system. I was high as a kite. Seriously, tiniest little sniff and I was done for hours, it felt like. I remember trying to go to sleep, but I was too wide awake and high because there was all this oxygen and I didn't know what to do with it. But, again, that, you had medications back then that actually worked, whereas today, not really. Not so much. Right, little man? Are you a good boy? Are you? Is Rory being a good boy? Oh, he's toasty warm. Been in the warms? Have you? He's a good boy. You are. Yes. You are a good boy. No. Oh. You're my bestest boy. Yes. Oh. You coming up? Coming up? Gonna sit in a hole? Not quite sure, are you? You pickled your brain, so did you cook it? Is it a bit cooked now? Yes. You look browner. Swear you're bleaching in the sun. Your head actually looks kind of brown. Yes. Kind of dark coffee bean colour. Yes. Not the little black puppy that we're used to. No, you have more browny bits. You do. Yes, you do. Lurking is cool. We appreciate a good lurk. Thank you very much. See, the sun's mostly gone from the garden now, so he's gone back out. There's probably a small slither somewhere he's making the most of. Amy's just gone out to see if she can squeeze in it with him. See, that's the sad part, and it's what, 3:30? And the sun's basically gone. I hate that tree sometimes. Because, if you think about it, if I was, on any given work day, it means that by the time I finish work, even though I finish at 4 o'clock, it's too late. There's no sun left, It's quite depressing. Especially as we don't get that many nice days. So. Which reminds me. Hey, weather app. What's the weather going to be like over the weekend? Let's have a look. Oh, of course. Today it says it's going to be slightly cloudy but lovely and warm. Tomorrow, 4 degrees colder. Sunday, vaguely sunny, but still colder. Monday, warmer. Tuesday, warmer than that. Wednesday, warmer than that. Thursday, warmer than that. Friday, warmer than that. Saturday, rain! You bastard weather. Colder and rain. I love this country. No, I don't. Alright. Well, at least the weekend's here. I don't have to get up at stupid o'clock tomorrow morning. Is it really Friday? I know it's Friday, but part of me doesn't know it's Friday. So it doesn't seem that long ago it was Friday. But it also seems a really long time ago, so thanks brain for that one. Having a scritch, hang on. There we go, that's a bit better. There's a hole in there somewhere. There it is. A bit low on the old thread on these. So I don't think it's enough to make it through to the end of this square. Woof. Oi! We do not bark at the nothing, or the fly, or the butterfly, the bumble, the wasp. Although actually, yeah, you can bark at wasps, but don't tell anybody I said that. We do not be barking. No. No to the woofting. And I know it was you, Mr. Paws. Yes. For I am aware of your woofting. Hello, Amy. You are not helping, darling. No. I love you too, but you are not helping. But your paw is somewhat unhelpfully placed at this time. See, you're sleeping. It's bad, naughty girl. It's Friday, of course I'm streaming at this time. Silly boy. Aren't you, Amy? You're silly too. Yes. Yes, you are. But you're not helping. No. No, you're not. No. You're my bestest girl, but you're not helping. No. You have been in the warms. Yes, you have. Yes, you have. What? You want a big hug? Okay. You can have a big hug. Oh, eat. Oh. As I said, this is not very helpful. And I remember when you was littles. I remember you being little, and you're not little anymore. No. You are going to be 5 next month. Yes, you are. What are you looking at me for? What? I am not going outside. I'm busy. I'm doing the thing we do every Friday. Amy, I am. You lie down. You can come and lie down. You come lie down. This is not lying down. No. That's sitting. Yes. You clearly want me to do something. Well, I don't know what you want, but Rory's now lying down, so it can't be that important. No. You're just being you, aren't you? Being your usual little crackhead. Yes. Well, you are being a little crackhead. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Humph. I know. Oh, it's a hard life, being a dog. All this nothing you have to do. Yes. You don't have to do anything, and you get fed and watered like royalty. Yes. Endless huggies. Yes. Lots of things to sniff and pee on, and all the things that doggies enjoy. Yes, off you go. Don't be pretending you don't. Oh, the daily spam bot idiots. Itch, itch. My ear is itchy. I get eczema in my ears, and I can assure you, on days like today when it's a little bit warmer, itchy ears are very unpleasant. I mean, they're not pleasant at the best of times, but like everything, heat definitely doesn't help. Let me give them a bit of a scratch. Hang on. have an ear scritching device. Might be a bit many actually. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. No, that'll fit. Put you in a stick. Put you out of the way. You. We need. As you're the only option, we need 4 of you, and the next 4 of you, and you can go over there. Oh, don't fall apart. Right. Time to move back to doing some rose ground. I haven't actually done any of my strip this week, which is unusual. I know what I was going to show you all. So, I know most of you are listening rather than watching, but that's perfectly fine. But I can show you whether you're looking or not, and then it's your own fault. So, I have all the parts I wanted to make the snazzy bobbins that we saw, bar the sticks. So let me share with you that which I have to make them with. So let me just make some little piles of things because, well, there are different things where's the other things? There should be another thing. I put them back in the box, didn't I? Yes, I put those back in the box. So, I have a packet of things, and I will get out. I have some packets of things, so let me do my usual snooky in thing, and then we will chunk it down as far as we can, so it's as near to me as I can get it, and maybe a little bit this way because it's flatter. Right. So the first one I got, it's got a pokey bit on it. Have to fix that at some point. Let me seal the bag so I don't drop them all, because, you know, clumsy oaf, that is what I'll do. Now, this one's got a bit of a casting mishap. Not quite sure how to fix that, but so I have, oh, she said it's not on camera. There it is. I have this, which is blurry. Camera, in your own sweet time, please. Right, can we focus on the thing? There you go. There we go. And it has a pattern on it. Jesus, this is the zoomed in one? Really? Is this is the zoomed in one? Okay. Let me stick it closer to the camera then. Now I've got to find where the camera is. There it is. So it's probably not that easy to see, and that still looks blurry, but there we go. So I have little kind of, let's call them bows on that one. And then we have these. Now, these are going to be Nauticaut's favourites. They're in a packet. Of course, they're in a packet. Everything's in a packet. They're all in wretched packets, in boxes, in packets. There is plastic overload in all of this. But there is one of these. Just trying to find it. And it's funny how they look so much bigger, and you can see each individual stitch, but now I need to show you beads that are like 4 times as big. They're hard to see. So these ones look a little bit like rope going round a bead, and they're bigger than the other ones, as you can't see because they're off screen. Oh, there you go. So they're bigger. Now these, they're not heavy, but these definitely weigh. These have weight to them. So my plan is this will be at the bottom, right? That'll be the very bottom of them. I knew you'd like those. And just to make you feel quite good, because they came in pots of 40, I do have 3 pots. So, yes, we like those. And I do like the fact that they're heavy, right? Because as you know, I'm not a fan of the toothpicks. Well, I have them now. All I need are the sticks. So that's I'm going to try and lay them out kind of in some semblance of order. So I haven't decided where all of these parts, and it may be I change my mind and don't use them all. But at the same time, being a girl who likes some weight to her bobbins, I foresee adding the items as a way of adding weights to my bobbins, because, well, they'll be made of thin little bits of wood, so to get some weight behind it will be, hence I bought metal ones and not plastic ones, because, well, then I have these. You can't see that. There you go, those. Really? Oh, that's the bottom. Right, so that's right. The problem is I've got bobbins here. Can I move it over a bit more? Yeah, let's move it over a bit more. Maybe not quite that far, woman. Right, so let's put that down here near the bottom. This one near the top, and then we've got these. Now I'll put those on this side too. These are, what have these got on them? These have kind of butterflies, for want of a better word. So although these ones are a bit more like bows and they're a bit more 3D, these ones are kind of engraved with little butterflies, Basically, it's kind of the same shit, but a bit smaller, a bit lighter, a bit... Then I have, just in case, these. So I'm unpacking them because they're all in a box in a stupid packet. So you open the box and then you've got to take out the packet and then get in the packet, and so it takes a little bit longer. I have these, which are just plain tubes. They really are very lightweight plain tubes. So the plan would be, let's say this is at the top. This might go tube like this at the bottom, or I might do tube, put the bracket kind of there and the tube on top, or just because I can, I might actually put this underneath the top one to make it a little bit more balanced, shall we call it. Not that balance is a thing, but one thing that did spring to mind was and these were in a wooden box, not a plastic box, so I've got lots of little plastic tubby things, look, which I might keep for other things for later, but everything's in a wretched plastic bag. I'm not the greenest person alive, but even I'm sitting here going, how much frigging plastic does a girl need? Now, I thought I bought 2 of these, to be honest. In fact, I swear I bought 2 of these. Let me check my order. I really thought I bought 2 of those. And there's good reason why I bought 2 of those. Let me check. I really thought I bought 2. Maybe I only bought 1 and I'm stupid. Well, then that's, you see, this is the, you see, currently, I know what you meant. I haven't decided. Now these are ball bearings. That's exactly what these are. Now my plan for this is at the top. And the reason for it to be at the top is so that I have a knobbly bit, not that I can really demonstrate this to you, but to wrap the thread round so that there's, you know, somewhere, much like these, the current bobbins, I've got the thread at the bottom and the kind of the hitch around a, it's the same principle as on one of these bobbins that has a rose with a notch kind of thing on it, so that you can put the knot round the rose. And I thought, well, what I'll do, so, but if nothing else, it makes a smooth top to help the thread not stick or catch on anything. So it has multifunctional purpose. Although, as I said, for some reason, this particular bead here has got a knobbly bit on it. A kind of casting error. And I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to do about that. Oh, that's all right. It just flakes off. That's okay. It's gone now. It was merely a metal flake, so it has gone and she's smooth now. But the idea would be, so I got them slightly smaller than the bead section, so that they could kind of sit on top, a bit like a cherry on a cake. I mean, I could do it with the other bit. I could do it with these beads. I mean, it doesn't matter which end is which. But I quite like the idea of the big one being at the bottom with maybe a friend. Maybe, you know, so something along these lines. And then this at the top along with this, so that the thread stays just the other side of the metally bit. And I know it's behind the words, but they're rolling around as beads inevitably do. And I actually don't have a lot of room because, well, you know, if I say to you that, you know, you can see how big the screen space truly is. So, but that's my plan. And then obviously there'll be a wooden stick down the middle. And I've got me some... Everything's fucking falling off my table again. I have an amazing ability for things to fall off flat surfaces. I have this shit, she says. Guess what? Comes in a plastic bag. Which is bead glue. And it is designed for metal and beads. And so it says on the front, waterproof. I'm going to have to read this to you. Do you remember when I read the fabric glue? And we all kind of rolled around laughing because it was really hysterical. I need you to remember, this is a tub of glue. This is a tube of glue. So, if I hold it up, it's very difficult. It's like trying to drive. But you can see this writing on it. The writing says, waterproof. Stimulate the taste-free. Anti-vibration. Flexible. A hint of scent. Paintable. Who's been eating glue? Oh, Jesus. The world's tiniest writing. Trying to find the camera again. Can't really see it, but tiny, tiny writing. I mean, you can tell by my finger. Tiny, tiny writing. So, product description. Product description. B7000 acrylic diamonds adhesive is one can safely loy glowers, jewellery, handicrafts and other industries. The special environment protection, adhesive, bonding, bear in mind it really is tiny, and other products are not afraid of bad compare with adhesive acrylic drilling between. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I do love reading them out because it is always funny. B7000 intent, odour. I'm sure that says intent. Oh, initant. I'm not even sure that's a word. Odour, one compound model, though tiny, belonging to Ming. Yeah, it does say Ming. Ming solution glue. Greenhouse curing. Convenient operation without the need to separately both open, cover, can use. High elastic rubber film. Soft vibration proof and waterproof. B7000 adhesive paste. More material on metal. So, technical data. Appearance, transparent and semi-floating body. It floats. Solid content, 30 to 35%. After curing hardness, 65 to 80A. Surface drying time, 3 minutes. Completely cure time, 24 to 48 hours. Matte. Ters seeding attention. There's a space in there. Possible stimulation to skin and eye. Please in well ventilated environment. In case of contact with eyes, rinse with plenty of water. At least that made sense. Please keep away from children's storage production. Keep away from source of ignition. Warranty period 1 year. The safe use of date products. Pipe, tail, and indeed made in China. Method of use. Bear in mind, I haven't read this in advance, so I am reading this fresh and having to squint because it is freaking tiny. And it's almost like it's got a drop shadow on it as well. So it really does make it difficult to read. Please read carefully before using the product introduction. Oh, sorry, produce introduction. Large area before use. Please do small area test. Please make sure the sticking surface is cleaning and drying. The best use of temperature should be between 18 and 32 degrees. The product after opening the cover, please timely cover stitch removal for the adhesive residue of cover. I promise you I'm not making this shit up. 6. Wait 1 to 2 minutes. Sorry. Wait for 1 to 2 minutes, as in the numbers 1-2. 2. TWO. Adhered. Alignment, bonding, a little pressure. It is straight hours can be after 48 hours to achieve the best bonding strength. Dude, these people need a translator. I don't speak Chinese, but I'm feeling a will to learn, you know? Because surely I would be highly paid to translate into actual English. But I've got 2 tubs of the shit anyway. But it is supposed to be bead glue. I do love how the outer bag says basically a Manchester address, and then below it is a Chinese address. So, oh, it's a UK rep. Fair enough. That's right. I took my glasses off so I could read it, because there's no bloody way I'm reading with these things on. I need a microscope to read it with these on. So yes, that's kind of my plan, and I don't really have a thin stick to demonstrate the problem with. But one thing I have noticed that I found rather interesting. So let me introduce you to my friends. I got some more of these because the 2 I usually have about the place have disappeared, which is a bit weird because, well, they're not exactly light. But these metal beads, let me zoom out a bit because that's doing my head in. But I will need to zoom down a little bit because, well, they're at the bottom, look. Can you see the bottom one yet? I don't know. Can you see this one? No, let me move it up here. So, Nauticaut's favourite's this one. The ball bearing does kind of leap up unenthusiastically. So does the little plain one. The others aren't magnetic at all, which is kind of weird because I thought they were all steel. But that is my plan, to potentially have, I don't know, probably the bulkiest of these 2. So let me have a quick look to see which that is. To be honest, there's not much in it. But, you know, have big bulky one end, maybe U3 this end, and skinnier and ball at the top. They're not heavy, but the ball bearing's got a bit of weight to it. Nauticaut favourite has a bit of weight to it. So the actual kind of overall stick should have a feeling of, you know, that if I sneezed it wouldn't all go to hell in a handbasket, which is kind of what I wanted, which is, as I said, why I bought metal ones. So let me put them all away. Plastic box for you to help keep yours safe. Then we want you. You are. Now, of course, they're all supposed to, well, bar Nauticaut's favourites, they all supposedly came in packs of 100. I have not actually counted them. So I am expecting for them not to have 100 in. Because, well, that's a thing, right? Then we put, which one are you? You're those ones. I mean, not that it hugely matters, but it makes it easier if you do put them back in the right pots after all. Yep, you go in there. That. I'll scoot you into that. Like that. It's interesting, one of them didn't come in a pot, which is kind of weird really, but okay, one of you didn't come in a pot, so I haven't got a pot for you. And douchebag, don't just put the bag over, put the bead back in it. So let's put the kind of bow one back in its bag. Yeah. So I foresee quite a bit of swearing when I come to make this, just on the simple grounds, because small bead, glue, stick, yeah, that's going to have swearing in it. But these ball bearings have got actually a decent heft to them. I was potentially thinking of getting two. I'm sure I ordered two, but I was potentially having two so that I could have a rounded end on both ends. But of course I can always add a rounded end later if I want to. I'll put them back in their little box. So yes, so those are the joys I got for potential bobbin making. I do quite like the idea. I did kind of want to have, I don't know really how to explain it, but I wanted almost like a belt for it. So, but I wanted like more like a washer. I almost wanted washers, so that I, like you said, Nautica, so I could have like one at the top, so that, and it wouldn't. They're not. I'm not talking huge washers. I'm not talking like washers. I am talking tiny washers, but with big holes in, almost like split rings. But I don't want to split in it because it will just snag on it. But basically, I wanted a little circle of metal to go kind of round the handle, for want of a better word. To delineate off the thread area from the picking it up area, but also to help grip against the elastics of the sticks. But I am actually quite looking forward to giving it a go. So for those who are not aware, I've ordered some wooden sticks. They come pre-chopped to the right length, allegedly, and the dimensions of the stick should be 4 inches tall, bite me, and 5mm wide. That's about 0.2 inches. So therefore the beads have got a 0.2mm inner hole. Most of the beads are 8mm. I think Nautical's faves are slightly bigger, but the ball bearings are 7mm. So they're not equal, but they're not too small either, if that makes sense. So it helps them sit into the bead a bit, so that it's got something to glue into, rather than just kind of graze the edge at the top. I do think of going slightly smaller, but I don't want them to be too small, because then the thread won't stay in it, because it'll be a bit and to be honest, I don't expect it to do too well at holding the thread down. But what I could do is put a little tubey, one of the bobbly tubey ones, the thin tubey bit, and then the ball bearing, so that the ball bearing is wider than the tube at its widest point, and as a result then the thread is trapped along the tube. I could just leave a gap, of course, but I really need something for the ball bearing to attach to. So I kind of need something there. So I don't know. I once I've got stick, but of course the stick's going to be the same size as the hole. So Imagine sliding it will be interesting, especially once I've painted it with a Sharpie. So, because of course wood swells when it gets wet. So I imagine this could get quite interesting, and lots of swearing could be involved. Especially as I doubt those holes are, you know, pinpoint accurate. So some won't go on at all, you know. But we will see how it goes. So yes, I'm kind of looking forward to playing with those. I'll probably regret my life choices, but... we shall see. I'll probably try and make, you know, I'll try sort of placing them together and not gluing it, but seeing, maybe I will make a couple off screen to see how well they hold up, but yeah, that's the problem. I need it to shrink back, I think is probably more accurate. Is that I really want, when the Sharpie dries, for them to return to the size that they currently are. Otherwise, the bobbins won't fit over, the beads won't fit over the stick. To be honest, I do imagine I'm going to have problems fitting them over the sticks due to inaccuracies anyway. But at the same time, one can only find out when one has the stick. Which reminds me, actually. It's funny how I do this all the time. I'll type like 3/4 of a sentence and then one word comes out as complete and utter gibberish. It's also amazing. One of the things... Oh, hang on. Ooh. Oh, wow. That's shitty. I was looking at 4.5mm sticks in case I needed smaller sticks. And I found, you're going to get a real boomer job, sorry. These, which it lists as. Now, this would get expensive, but bear with me. 14 pieces of walnut dowel rods, so pretty wood. Now, I assumed from the thing that I would get to pick from the sizes of 4.5, 9.8, 11.8 and 15mm. And they're 20 centimetres long, which is, give or take, near enough. It's a bit long, but a price I could pay, right? But of course, you actually only get 6 and of the 4.5mm sticks for £12.29. And what would I do with the other ones? But that's a shame, because walnut ones would be nice. Oh, shut up, you annoying hound! Put the word hardwood in it, because, for example, you do get quite a few, but they're like almost like sponge stuff. In the picture, you can see like little circles. It's made out of flimsy ass shit. And when you get like lollipop sticks, your instant is, well, it's got no strength to it. And I'm not talking the paper ones, I am talking wooden ones. So The other problem is I've written 4.5mm wooden stick hardwood, right? Some of them are hardwood, great. Most of them are wooden sticks, although occasionally not. But none of them are 4.5mm. Or then why are you showing it? You don't have any. Balsa wood, you can sod off. Did you know actually balsa wood's technically a hardwood? Even though it's one of the softest things you'll ever touch. They're flat. I don't want flat. 4mm square ones. You see, I don't want square ones. I want round ones. Your 2mm. I'll sneeze and snap those. What size are those? Again, that's square ones and loads of difference. That's 4mm. Well, you see, that's kind of where I'm at, but I also do want to be able to push them up the stick a little bit. So, you see, I can't show you this easily, but I can, for example, send it to Nauticelt. But if I zoom in on this, I know it's now all really grainy, but if you look, you can see the ends of the wood are like little, look almost like sponge. It's hard to believe that those have got strength because they look like they're almost reconstituted something. It's almost like it's just horrible. But they you know, I can have those. But this is the thing. I mean, these are the ugly ones, obviously. Hang on. Let me send you these, hang on. Actually, let me just paste it to chat, hang on. Hang on. No, I don't want that. I didn't want to click on that. Didn't mean to click on that. Shut up. Here we go. This one. Here we go. Let me paste it in here. Hang on. Oh, for fuck's sake. It's funny how it can load it and then sit for 5 minutes with a little thing going round and round and round. You've loaded the fucking chat. Stop saying you're loading it. You have. I can tell that you have. Because the last line says, Nauticelt, yes, please send the link. Stop being a shit. Fine. Try again. Take my time. This thing's going to take longer than it would to... I could walk to your house from here quicker than this. Fine. If you're going to be like that, let's see if I can do it this way then. I really hate how everything on the internet seems to do this these days. That I can do. But it always just seems these days that everything you click on, it kind of mostly loads and then doesn't, if you know what I mean. Right, here we go. Gone in a different way. There we go. Yeah, that loaded. Right, just put glasses back on. Get back to making those. Well, I don't know. You've got the link. You look. I put my phone down. I don't think it says it's bamboo, but I would assume it must be. But bamboo is usually hollow. So, fuck only knows, to be honest. It looks more like one of those, I can't remember the name for it. The one where you're, you know, like arachnophobia is scared of spiders. The one where you're scared of holes and they've done like the CGI hand with tons of little holes in it. That's what that looks like to me. It looks fake. It doesn't look right at all. Trypophobia or something. Trichophobia. Well, but then I've got to cut the bloody thing. So, you know, it's... we shall see. We shall see. Because as I said, one of the other problems is I don't expect the machinery of the beads to be highly accurate. As a result, you know, some will be baggy, some will be tight. So I probably need to invest in a bit of sandpaper as well. So, you know. But we shall see. We shall see. No worries. See, where's the sticks? I'm missing a stick. Because that's got space for you on it. Maybe you are a stick. 1, 2, 3. Oh, you are a stick. Okay, there you are. Feels like I'm a stick light though. I've got more sticks, that's for sure. Yes, I have plans to try making my own bobbins. To be honest, I probably would have hoped, I guess I hoped slightly for slightly bigger dowels to make the bobbins out of, because if you think, I've got some like this bobbin here which is really tiny, which is going to be about the same size, and I've also got some that have got fat middles, and of course the whole bobbin's going to be, excuse me, I've got the yawns now, the whole bobbin's going to be that fat, so you're going to be able to fit quite a few in a stick, which is a bonus point. And more will fit on a pillow before falling off the edge and being in the way. And again, bonus point. They're going to be black, bonus point, and silver, pretty damn cool. So I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see how they turn out, because in principle they should be cool. In practice, probably a bit Blue Petery, to be honest. But they would look good. And of course not have spangles. Because screw spangles. So. I swear there is a pin in my jumper in the sleeve. Because every so often I move my arm around and it feels like there's a pin. Not the sharp end of a pin, mind. The head of a pin. And I put it down and I put my hand down and something jabbed me kind of round about my elbow, but it wasn't resting on anything. So it's not like it's in the cushion or anything, but it's like there's a pin or a bit of pin lurking in my cushion. One more yawn and I'll put the apology up to it. Here. Oh. Itchy, itchy, itch. Right. You come around the corner. I apologise. I've definitely got the yawns. As I said, my mailbox has got the best part of 70,000 frigging mails in it, so... following yesterday... Oh, and on top of yesterday's debacle, turns out there was a second debacle yesterday. For another change got done without change freeze that I'm aware of. There might be a change freeze, but it didn't get notified, so its existence is basically irrelevant. So as well as chopping all of the servers off communication-wise with the world, and buggering off, someone decided to clean up some areas. Now, some of them had been done. Some of them were ready for this. Some were not. Some of them are production that were not. So some of my 70-odd thousand emails are servers manning because the thing has gone. What did ping? Oh, I assume that was email. I assume that was a mail ping. Well, that was... I don't know. I swear I heard you ping. What did you ping about? I swear I didn't do those right, but I can't see anything wrong with them. When I was doing the last couple of that previous row, I swear I only did like 2 stitches and the rose ground was complete. Even though I've entered all 4 pins, it just feels like I missed a bit. I assume because my brain is deprived of oxygen, otherwise I wouldn't be yawning, that it's kind of shut down and slept through some of my actions. Just check something. One of the other things I quite find funny is that I've got a camera on the front of my house, and it doesn't give the game away. You can see it says it's offline, except that's a live picture. So I can see real time what's going on, but it says it's offline, which is kind of amusing. I don't know what's wrong with it. I am such a terrible person sometimes. I was deliberately checking something, and then it's like oh, and suddenly I realise I haven't done jack for a while. But just want to check a few things. Use me. Yay, biscuits. Check eBay, because I get a mail every day saying, hey, 53 billion things have been added to your list of things that you were looking at. So I do a search and it goes 53 billion things on your search. Yeah, 53 billion turns out to be 20. But to be honest, and I mean this with respect to a lot of them, as you know, I hate spangled bobbins. I don't necessarily hate the shape or the size of the spangled bobbin. I hate the spangle on the spangled bobbin. But there's a whole load now, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Actually, might be more than that. Let's stop the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 19. So there are currently 19 bobbins. We need pairs, people. But there are 19 bobbins in a Beatrix Potter theme. So someone has painted onto them something about Beatrix Potter, and what they are varies. But the average price being asked for each of these bobbins is £13.72. Well, £13.72 times 19 is £260 for, well, 9 pairs of bobbins. It's not going to get you very far, is it? I mean, I know they're painted and all of that kind of delight. you know, they're pretty. I'm not going to say they're not pretty. But at the same time, there is a little bit of me kind of going, but it's like having writing on your tyres that people can read, but the moment you move, of course, no one can read it anymore. It. Yes, very strange. And I'm not saying they're not worth it, but to me, they're not worth it. Because, you know, I assume so. And it's not like I painted the monster bobbins, so you can actually see and recognise them. But they're very yellowy bobbins, so they've not been painted with white for the white bits. So it is very kind of nicotine yellow colour. And as I say, they got spangles on, so, you know, minus 20 points for that. And, well, I know that Flusavy might vouch for this one if he's still about, but I seem to have very caustic hands in that if I knit with a pair of knitting needles that have a coating on, I only have to make a pair of gloves and most of that coating's disappeared. So I'm not saying that the bobbin's not worth it to the right person. But for me, it's part of the reason I want to put a waxy type finish on the potential bead bobbins, is because, well, knowing my luck, that could also be a thing. And this is the thing, you know, I don't, because it's, you know, a slightly poor picture of a thing on eBay, you know, unless you paid for one and could actually look at it, chances are you will never know until you actually get it. You know, it's the same as buying anything online, really, is that sometimes, unless it's something you bought before and it is a manufactured thing to tolerances, there is a really good chance that the one you have won't be like anybody else's, and it'll be shit. You know, and even with manufactured stuff, you can still get the Friday lemon. You know, I had a car that was a Friday lemon. Swear it was a Friday lemon. But it is one of those things, is that, you know, they can take photos, but they're not professional photos, so they're not always well lit. They're not always that well in focus. They're not... Now, some of it might be deliberate to hide the problems. Chances are it's just poor ability to take a great quality photo. But it also means that should you be trying to buy it, though, you can't be sure really what you're getting till it's in your hand. I mean, your favourite beads, I did have a concern that they'd be too lumpy, so that when you're trying to manipulate the bobbins, they'll catch on each other, because, well, that's the last thing I need, you know. And it's those kind of aspects, is sometimes, because all you're doing is looking at a 2D piss poor version of the real thing, it's not always easy to tell. I mean, it'll look great and then it'll be crap, or it'll look crap and it could be great. Less likely for that one, but you know, it is technically possible. I have had things that didn't look that great turn out to be fantastic, but it's just not very common. I don't know, it just kind of, yeah, I don't know how it's going to turn, you know. It's like the sticks potentially could be great, or they could be hideous. I won't know until I get them. But my tiny jug of Orvis paste arrived, so I'm pleased with that. And this bobbin has gone for a wander. You've gone for a wander. Have some drink. Not drinking enough today. Oh, blimey! Well, hello, new people. Hello, and I've just spotted a mistake. Hello, nice people. Welcome to the tragedy that it is Liz making mistakes while making bobbin lace. Have I truly? Have I really? Somehow I did. Well, yes. And why not? Is the short answer. But although, right. Yeah, I don't like that end grain thing. It looks tacky. For those who are not sure, we're going to try making some bobbins, and I ordered some sticks, and they're not here yet, so I can't make them yet. I've got all the beads that I was going to attach to it, and they look pretty cool. But the stick part is yet to come. And I was just looking at some slightly alternative sticks so that should the stick that I have ordered be a problem, you know, what other choices have I got? And obviously the wood type, you can make bobbins technically out of anything. They could be arguably plastic. It really doesn't matter. But I am a wood girl. I kind of like wood. But obviously craft sticks are generally made out of cheap stuff. Now, I've no problem with cheap stuff because, well, it's cheap. But at the same time, I don't want to kind of pick it up and for it to break. I need it to at least survive a project, right? Preferably multiple projects. And I'm just looking, and I've come to do this row of my lace, and I realised I have foobar. Let me zoom in, and for those who wish to follow a little more accurately what the mistake truly is. If you look here, this pair come out, let me get a pointy stick. This pair come out of just underneath this pin here, because the pins are at an angle, it's hard to do, but the pin here. There is no threads coming out of the gap between the next two pins. The next one's down. So I missed taking a pair out, which also means somehow I screwed up because I had the right number of bobbins at the end in the right places. So technically there's two screw-ups because there's one that screws it up and one that unscrews it up, but not in a way that I can get away with. So, you all need to now kind of go into a holding pattern and keep out my way because I don't need any of you. You I want, you I do not want. And I am confident as I can be, that it is not because they're hooked round a pin and actually it's all fine. For this is not the case. So, I need to undo a lot of this. So let's get a stickety pin and mark you out the way like that. Which then means I can put you all round like this. And dear, Rory, is it? Oh, no, yes, Rory, this is so hard. My little puppy dog who clearly has such a hard, deprived life. I'm pretty sure I was counting the bobbins as I was going along as well. So how did I manage that? Whatever. Managed to screw it up, that's all that counts. So that's... not you. You need to go out the way, so putting the pins there is a bad idea. Let's put them along the edge. Hit the pin. Somehow you are involved. Now there is something about the way you make lace that means you should be very good at working out how to undo, because obviously whatever you do the reverse. Except that doesn't always seem to work, and I've got very good spatial awareness. I am very observant as a whole. I have my moments, but I am observant as a whole. But what I can't do is tell which way round two of these wretched strings cross. And so inevitably I make it worse before I make it better. Because I can't tell where they are in relation to each other. And even though I know how it was made, and therefore what I should need to do to undo it, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work in your head that way, at least. Something always seems to kind of go a bit wrong with that. Yes, for all of you first timers, if you have any questions, you are very welcome to ask. I am foolishly here most days, although this week has been a pretty bad week for me showing up. I try to stream every day, but sometimes life gets away from me, and it is not uncommon that I end off with one day a week where I have not been streaming because I got stuck into something else. I was tired from work, well, you know, insert lots of stupid reasons, but it does mean that, you know, why can't I see which way around to twist it? There we go. it does mean that there are days when I do not show. My timetable is listed, but they are approximations. They are very much subject to will of the good Liz here, and it's not that I don't want to, but there are times I don't want to. But it's not that I don't want to. It's not that I don't want to see it done. It's not that I hated it. It's not that I don't want to do it. I just want to go to sleep usually, or I want to kill something in a game or something, and I just kind of realise later that, well, it didn't happen, if you know what I mean. Did I just take out the wrong pin then? I did. Put it in the hole. There you go. She puts her elbow in it. I really do have problems seeing where the pins are and where the strings are. This should be the last one to undo. Stop mating. It's bad enough trying to work out which way round you are without you being problematic. So, you come out of there and you go over there because, well, that's your job. But then, oh, that's right. I did just easily screw it. Was that simple? I did just screw it up. Okay. Fair enough. I spend most of my time shortening bobbins because they seem to get longer and longer and longer and longer. And then, like these two, because these are known to work as the worker pairs, so they're going backwards, forwards. So you would expect to make them longer. Well, one seems to do that really well on its own, while the other one won't. So sometimes, in as little as going over 3 pairs and getting to the other side, one will be kind of up here and the other down here, and you're like, how? How did you do that? But they do. It's what my bobbins often seem to do to me. As well as other random bobbins getting longer for the fun of it. I swear they do it for the attention. I know they're inanimate, but don't believe that crap. Seriously, nothing in the world is that inanimate. If you own a car, try giving it a good wash and a polish and taking it out for a drive. If you took it out for a bit of a drive to say go and buy the wash and polish, right? It would run like lumpy there. It might not have started. You might have had to have, caressed it into life. You go, you wash it, you polish it. You spend a couple of hours working on it in the sun. You go and drive to, return the Hoover you borrowed off your friend to vacuum out the inside or something. That thing will run sweet as a nut. The whole principle of it's an inanimate object is definitely a little bit tenuous, because, well, sometimes they're just not, It was more true with older cars. I'm not going to pretend that that's not an aspect of it. So the cars that didn't have electronic control boxes, I'm talking the original, everything is done and worked with a a spanner and a hammer and a bit of prayer usually, but see, that doesn't add up because I need to do you too. Yeah, adds up. don't think I'm talking too much enough, feel free to ask questions and make me say things. Which one? Because they're all bounded by cloth stitch, darling. Do you mean the meshy one or the squovely one? This is called rose ground. So this is ground stitch, this is rose ground. So I will spell it out just to assist in your understanding. So it is rose ground. It is one kind of word. So it is kind of I really like the squovely one, but it does have, well, as you know, it takes a lot more stitches to do the squovely one. But I do like the little squares with the holes in the middle. I just do. Which is why, of course, I chose to put it in my square, because I wanted it. Because the original one didn't have any. Well, do remember that, like all many things, there are, like I said about spiders, there's actually a whole zillion ways to do rose ground. So don't expect them to all look identical. You may find this when you look into it. This is the traditional way, commonest way, I think, of doing them. I.e., I'm not doing anything exciting with them. But you can add more twists. You can. There are whole YouTube videos dedicated on how to make them, so you could have a look. Because I know that you're thinking of trying to recreate it in your pieces of rope, so I'd imagine it's possible. You just need to put a lot of thought into it. Or use four ropes at the same time, kind of thing. And then just effectively do lace making without the bobbins. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's put you in a stick before we have corrected the mistake now. And I am confident that I got it right. So put you out the way. Get the poke. Fair enough. No, but I mean, if you wish to do a faux one, you could achieve the same. I could teach you how to make it with 4, and you, if nothing else, you can then see about trying to translate. But at the same time, depending on what you're making and what you're making it for, yeah, I quite like the checkerboard effect. I quite like the fact that it's squovels. I like the square and the circle, and sometimes they come out looking a lot more circular and sometimes they come out looking squarer. This is more denoted with the number of twists on the bit at the end. So, as you may have been aware, you have to do like top, well you don't have to, doesn't matter which order you do, but I tend to do left and right. So you do the left top, the right top, you then join them in the middle, do the left and right middles, join them in the bottom, and then do a bottom left, bottom right. And it is how many twists you do with the bottom left and bottom right that seem to... Well, probably, but you'd need to get real friggin' up close with thread this small to have a look. And my ability to get up that close and personal with it is kind of limited. So I forgot to take a picture of it before we started. I meant to. I've been thinking about it all day. Let me see if I can get you a picture of them really close up. Yeah, there you go. Let me send you that. I'm sending this to Nauticelt personally because, well, Nauticelt's after the picture and he can't post pictures to Twitch, so let me... Phone, stop being a dick. There you go. So I've just sent that to Nauticelt. I might use that as my picture for today, actually. Make it a bit different. It's not like it's not relevant. So I don't need you two for a bit, or you two for a bit, or you two for a bit. So I need you two. Yes, you two. Hang on, way around. Need to be crossed, so. Long. Should pack off the bottom cushion. You're long because you have got longer. Because you're annoying. Move you, keep hallucinating. When I say I'm hallucinating, I don't mean truly hallucinating. It's a bit more innocent. I do mean that there was a dark piece of cloth on the very peripheral of my vision. And you know how, like, a computer going to sleep will attract your attention. So when there was a coloured screen, you were paying no attention to it whatsoever. But when it winks off and goes to sleep and goes black, your brain goes, oh, what were you doing? My brain is telling me that the dark cloth to my right, which is just a dark cloth, is constantly a screen going into standby, and so it keeps saying to me that it's gone dark, and of course it hasn't changed. It's making it up. Hence I've moved it so that it's no longer quite in the same place and a bit further out of my vision, so that my brain maybe won't notice quite so much, because clearly it's got a thing. It's kind of into a thing about declaring it as going into standby. So okay, it's Friday, isn't it? Let me kill that. Poke that. that. So let me just gonna poke a couple of bits on my computer a second. Hang on. There we go. That's what I wanted to hit. There you go, something for you to do. And you know me, if you want to ask a question about, like for example, if you wanted to know how those snakes work, ask me, I'll tell you. Excuse me. That's what happens when you drink fizzy Coke. And that's the other thing I hate. Oh, you weren't logged in. Okay, log in. I'm not going to take you to the page that you were heading for. You'll have to go and dig that out again, and then we'll probably whine that you're not on the page that we wanted you to be. Where's the... I can't see the menus. I hate that Windows has now made the menu bar the same colour as everything else. I'm going to have to change that because I keep losing them. Let's try that again. Is my computer having a funny? No? Yeah, naughty cow. I think one of the other things is it's difficult to see when I'm working on it because all the pins get in the way. And I have the same problem from my point of view, which is why, for example, it's so easy for the mistakes to disappear and into what I'm doing, is because, well, there are pins in the way and you don't notice a thread caught round a pin because, well, there's a forest of pins and there's threads around them, so it just looks, well, like it's supposed to be there, and you can't be that close to it. So yeah, it's not like embroidery where you can like have it an inch from your nose and be staring at it. It's kind of got to be, well, in the middle, you know, it's kind of got to be in the middle of your pillow because, well, I mean, obviously it can be further away there and closer here, but it's still only, it's still got to, I mean, you're still got to have room for the bobbins underneath, so you kind of can't get hugely close to it. I mean, you can get closer on a bolster pillow because obviously the bobbins tend to hang down the front, but as we've already discussed quite a few times, is that I can't really get a camera angle that will help with that. I do like my bolster pillow, I just can't really stream it. But I can do the roller pillows, as we all know, so, and I like those too. Remember how in the past we discussed some of the elite craftism that can go on and about, and how you get the snobs of, oh, well, if you're not using this, then are you really doing it kind of attitudes? Well, there was a question that came up, and it was about, oh, for fuck's sake, really? How in the name of mercy do I do this? And I swear I counted. I screwed it up again. This is suggesting that it is time to walk away. For, once again, grabbing poking device, this here has no threads coming out of it. Only they do. So, I got it wrong somehow. I think I went wrong here. Because there seems to be a gap behind it. So I didn't add one here, so they're all out. And I've got to go all the way back again. Hating life, hating life. Throw you down a bit because I can put some of you in a stick to make a bit more space. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, you can go in a stick. You're not a full stick, but you are a stick. Put you in a stick. Push you up a bit more to give him more space to do the undo and redo again. This is the only time where anyone who says you need patience will soon see that I definitely do not have the patience. I have stubborn, elastic, this kind of a stretchy stuff. It's not expensive. I mean, it's, you know, it's still money, but it's just elastic. It's called elastic. That's what it's called, elastic. Yeah, it's just called elastic. Hang on, let me, for example, you will notice that many of my links are to Amazon. This does not mean I recommend buying from them, it just means that I looked on here and found it, because they do sell pretty much everything. So 1.5 millimeters and 5 meters of it is £3.99. Undo these pins yet again. This is the time where my patience does test very much, because having made a stupid mistake once and then concentrated, and having made the exact same mistake again, clearly one is not left in the mood to be doing this. And especially when they keep making themselves longer. Urgh. So it goes wrong the row before this. Excuse me. See, if I take this out, I didn't add a pair here, and I should have done. So, we need to make sure we don't screw this up again. Bad me. It's so frustrating when you get it wrong. Especially, I mean, making it wrong, yeah, whatever. When you've made it wrong, well, 3 times in a row, that's kind of when you know it's the time to stop. Because obviously I made it, realised it was wrong, went back, made it again, now it's wrong, so I'm going to have to make it a 3rd time. Oh, I can't afford to screw it up this time. I need to make sure I'm not, you know, doing it again, kind of thing. So, now here is the thing. You went in, so you have had your, because this is the pin, so this is now 4, which is right. So you are now out. You are far too long. Yeah. For this, I envy you, because, of course, I can't really do that. Now, as we had, you may recall, I'm not sure if you were here at the time, there was a square when I got it wrong. And I don't know quite how I got it wrong, but I got it wrong. But it was in a way where I could fudge it, and it would not be particularly visible. The problem with some of this area is because obviously the bobbins need to feed into the squivels. If you suddenly pull one from here to up here, it will show. It will stand out quite a bit. Now, obviously, you know, we know I'm only making this for me and no one ever really going to see it. So, from that point of view, whatever. But at the same time, it chews at my soul. And because it's not that far back, you know, it's not like I've spotted a problem back here or something and I'd have to undo all the way back. You know, because we've discussed before, once the pins are out, absolutely no chance. If it's the current section, maybe. Now in this case, because this section is not particularly big as it's a cloth stitch section, winding back is really, isn't so bad. But if I was doing this mesh bit and I'd screwed up, say, this top left hand corner of this bigger square, no, I am not. I'm doing all of this to get back to here, to redo the cloth stitch, to then get onto the mesh. Just no. Just no. There would be wailing and gnashing of teeth and some tears. But no. I would definitely struggle to commit to fixing that. So it is one of those kind of, I'm prepared to go back and I'm prepared to make right, but only so far, 3, 4. Oh, I've got a big itch. Oh, I've got a big itch. And it's in a bit I can't reach. Hang on. It's down the bottom, which doesn't help. But it's one I can't get at. Oh. Oh. And now other bits are going. Actually, while you're at it, apparently it's because I've got really dry skin. It makes it itch. that's a pair, that's a pair, that's a pair. That makes sense. We've got the right number of pairs now. So that's a good sign. Getting really itchy. It's really distracting, and it's what I also would call ow itches, where your brain says ow and then wants to itch it, so it's like a prickle. It's like someone stabbing me with little pins, which is a sign that I'm getting frustrated and pissy with it. And the fact that they keep getting longer is not aiding their existence at all. So, you look a little bit wrong. So, I'm going to take a picture of this because I forgot to take one yesterday. So, but I have a picture, so that's okay. I'm going to take a picture of you. Like that. I am going to have to bow out now. I think my mistake ratio was getting a bit much. And it is hungry time. It is 6 o'clock. So I thank you for joining me on my journey today. We will be back tomorrow. Again, it's a Saturday, so chances are it will purely be just the late night stream. Give me a chance to play Path of Exile all day. I haven't done any strip this week, which, as I said earlier, is a little bit weird because the strips are quite appealing. But I've been busy this week, as I said. You know, work's been a bit weird. So, with all of that going on, no, it's not to count. But yes, I will be back later tomorrow. I do have a schedule up. I try and... Their times are approximate, so don't be too upset if come the starting time I'm not here yet. If you do !Discord, there is a chance that I will post why I'm not streaming today, or mention it, or at least be listening, and you can always ask. It announces when I do go live, because sometimes Twitch is a bit crappy about it. But I will see you tomorrow, or soon, hopefully. You will come back and we will do this some more, for we have, well, just over 1¼ squares to go, and then we can start joining them, and then we can start the strips and make a whole one. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But then, of course, I've got to have decided what I'm doing, and I haven't got anywhere with that either, so I suck. Anyway, I shall see you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.